So that was my meetings, and Steve can elaborate on Berkeley counties because it was quite a long list.
All right, is that it?
Yep.
All right, well, Mr. Catley, you want to elaborate?
Oh, certainly.
Certainly.
First, I want to say that for everyone to keep Pat Murphy in our thoughts and prayers. He had triple bypass surgery
Oh, he did?
on Friday. He was president of the school board. Now he's still on the school board, obviously. And Dr. Queen is in the hospital as well, past president of the school board, also having some serious issues. And I think he had some surgery as well here recently. So we'll keep both of those people in our thoughts and prayers. I talked to Pat's wife, and he seems to be doing fine, and hopefully he'll get home maybe by the weekend. On Tuesday, I had sewer board and stormwater board meetings, and sewer board projects are moving along really well. In fact, all the pump stations in Hedgesville are completed. They're just waiting on 2 things on the checkoff list, and that project's behind us. And then there's other things are all going well. And of course, the big thing there is the treatment plant at the Woods, and it's ahead of schedule right now too, so it's going well. Stormwater meeting. Our frustration levels continue to rise with the West Virginia DEP, and it's the opinion, I think, of Richard Lewis, who actually attended a special meeting with the DEP and some other folks in regards to the EPA's response to the statewide permit, general permit. The guess is it could take a year or longer to get it resolved, but it looks like the EPA is not going to bend on their recommendations, and so I think they're going to have to conform to that and come up with a whole new plan. And then, of course, it'll have to go back for public input for 30 days or whatever, 60 days again. So what happens in the meantime, and I think the opinion of the Stormwater Board of Directors, well, I know the opinion of them, all 3 of them, and Richard Lewis, the attorney, is to ask the state to accept our individual permit application that we sent in last fall and move forward with that. And I'm hoping that we don't need a formal motion from the commission, but that to get your consent on that, since we are co-permittees with the Stormwater Board, to move forward in that direction. If anyone has a problem with it, then speak up. But that seems to be the most appropriate way to move forward with this. And Patel seems to think he doesn't want to do it, but what was discussed is pertinent, is that, we're the only county that has a MS4 permit, and we're so different from all the others because they're all municipalities and cities and towns. And because we're so different and ours is so different, we should have an individual permit, because you can't throw us into a general permit thing and expect it to satisfy our needs. So if everybody's okay with that, then I'm going to tell the Stormwater Board that yes, we're agreeable to move forward with pressing them to give us an individual stormwater permit as soon as possible. Yesterday at the MPO meeting, my frustration level even got worse, and they came up with us to vote on 3 federal funding projects for Route 9 West. One is a roundabout at Hedgesville High School and Ridge Road. The other one is a roundabout at where Rudders is on Route 9. I understand the roundabouts, whether you disagree with them or not, it seems to be working in the Inwood area. And I don't have a problem with those, I guess. I still think there needs to be an alternate route to run parallel, because the traffic's going to only increase in the future.
My only recommendation, if they do roundabouts, is they make them single lane and not 2 lane, like in Inwood, because that does have a little bit of confusion. If you make them one wider lane, everybody seems to think that it flows better, but that's just my opinion.
And I think, Jim, well, and we brought this up at the Ridge Road there where the high school is, you also have Cumbo Road that comes there right at the Votech School.
Right.
And you got to tie that in there because you can't make a left out of Cumbo Road, where because the stoplight backs up to Cumbo Road. And but that's good. So then the other project they wanted us to approve, like $7 million, was for federal money, was for the schoolhouse road where the elementary school is on that. But there's no details at all about what are you going to do there. You didn't say roundabout, you didn't say anything. So Brian Carr, who represents the state that attends by Zoom at all these meetings, said there's no answer for that. And there never is an answer for anything we ever asked there. And that's where my frustration. And out of no disrespect to him, I said, we sit here in these meetings and we listen to these projects, but we don't even understand what we're voting on. And it's just like a rubber stamp thing. I don't know why we're wasting our time to even come to these meetings if we can't question things and get a legitimate answer from you guys. And I'll have to give Andy Blake credit because he backed it up. And he said as well, before we've approved to spend $5, $7, $8 million, somebody from the state of West Virginia, DOH, should be there telling us exactly what's going to happen. So what we did was make a motion, and so his answer was, well, until the engineering phase is done, we can't tell you what's going to happen. And I said, well, you're telling us what's going to happen on the roundabouts, and there's no engineering phase paid for yet. But regardless, a roundabout's not going to work at that location.
Not with the 5 point.
There's a whole lot of concern out there by the residents that live there, by the 7-Eleven in particular, which is a thriving business. That are they going to buy it out and close it? Well, there goes the town of Hedgesville's major revenue source is from alcohol sales at the 7-Eleven, to be honest with you. And so there's a lot of concern. So we did pass a motion to approve the engineering portion of that, which was $500,000. And then when they get a plan to come back, then we would vote then in the future on
The design.
the design and what they're actually going to do. Okay.
Could be
The other thing was
could be as simple as a stoplight.
It could be, and to me, that's probably a turn lane off of 9 into the school and a stoplight so the buses can get out of there after school would be important. But there you go from now 7 to 8 stoplights on from Hedgesville to Martinsburg. So the ultimate question, which I've asked every meeting, is what about the turn lane in the downtown Hedgesville, the big monopolis of Hedgesville, but the turn lane on 901? And I said, because all we're hearing locally is it's going to happen. But when I ask at these meetings, it's not. The funding was canceled for it 2 meetings ago. If there's going to be federal money, does this organization have to approve the funding? Yes. Well, we haven't approved the funding, but we're hearing it's going to happen. And finally, he spoke up and said it's going to happen. Okay. And they're already through several stages, and they expect to do the work next spring. And I said, well, at least we know now, I said, my point was we don't have to agree with what you're doing, but at least tell us so we can tell our constituents what you're doing, because people want to know. And I still think the answer to Route 9 is there has to be an alternate route at some point, because the traffic's going to keep increasing as the population grows.
So you can say that there's a little bit of progress, but not the progress that you want.
I'll say this, like I said, I appreciate the fact that Andy backed us up on this. The Maryland folks stayed out of it, like issues with their state. I don't think it's up for me to decide those issues. I go along with what their contingency and their group says that they should do in their backyard. Same here, and I appreciate that. But the frustration level with the state, and Andy's backed up the same thing and said, we need somebody to come before this organization before we approve these major projects and tell us exactly what is going on.
Well, Andy had several issues with the state highway department
As well.
going back to his tenure in Jefferson County.
And there's some in here in Martinsburg as well.
Yeah.
And the girl at Ranson's sitting over there shaking her head. We have the same problems, But just be transparent about it. Whether we don't like it, what you say, but at least tell us what you're doing. That's all we're asking. So.
And Matt indicated he would continue the conversation with the state, try to get something out of them, but they ignore him just as well as ignoring us.
Pretty much. And, it's just it's frustrating, it really is. But and I do have an ambulance meeting tonight, and hopefully it'll go better than my last two meetings. That's all I got to say.
Eddie?
Yes, sir. Mr. President, at a Parks and Rec meeting on Tuesday, they've got a lot of maintenance going on across their park system right now. They're doing the gym's roof replacement at the rec center off of Woodbury Avenue. The DuPont soccer field, the irrigation system is being repaired and is in operation. The Spring Mills Park, the new park, the pavilion is up, playground is up, and the trails are cut, and the restroom that's proposed for there was kind of out of budget, so they're still working on getting that in line. Rooney Park, the batting cages that went together with the Stingers, and the Little League all together, that came together to get that constructed. The roof goes on this week, and it also serves as a pavilion there at that park. Poorhouse Farm Lake has the dam failed. They think they've got that repaired, but there are several places that still, different places that are leaking. So they've got to address some issues there on the lake. And the brick house renovations are going well, which they want to make that a part of the package when you rent the barn, that the house is available also for different needs.
Especially for the bride to have
Right,
a place
yeah,
to change
that's it,
and
that's
get
it,
in
yeah.
her bridal gown and all that.
Yeah, so the Labor Day breakfast is September the 2nd. Hopefully a lot of folks can come to that. Currently, they have 19 full-time employees and 162 part-time employees. I would think that those numbers will be dropping with the pool season coming to a close. And this summer, they had 930 campers in their program, with 130 some on a waiting list. So that was a very successful program for them this summer. On the construction side with us, the Dunn Building, we're going through the punch list. Of course, Gary and Jack and Tracy are involved with this also. But the latest thing is down in the circuit clerk's office, the deed books, those cabinets are all now in place. We still got to do a little bit of work down there on countertops for the lawyers and the folks to be able to do their work there in the area of the books. The day report, and this building is really, really nice, especially in the old assessor's office. If you walk across there and just take a look at that, it's really, really nice. On day report, they're finishing up the wiring, they're finishing the drywall on the first and third floor. Within the next 2 weeks, they'll be doing grading, sidewalks and curbs, and start hanging the ceiling grid. So all that's coming along very well. The health department expansion, that meeting is tomorrow morning. They had to change it, but currently the site they're getting the site ready, and the pad site is ready. And I'm also still working with the United Way and the folks from Bethany House to help secure funding for that organization.
That's it? Okay. I did have 3 meetings. 2 I was able to attend. The first one was the EFTA meeting at the Transit Authority. Just a short synopsis that the revenue were 2.9 million, expenditures were 2.6. So the bottom line is the same on the amended budget. They just had to do an internal budget revision on some items that they were paying out inside the budget. So the state is paying for the new branding on the buses. they're looking to, I guess, once they go to this new facility and on the corner of Race and Raleigh, that they want to try a different brand name and keep it EPTA, but they're going to look for better graphics on the buses. So let's see here.
And what's the deal with the new facility? Any news on that?
Yeah, they're actually getting ready. Well, they have the job position description out for a clerk of the works because they're going to start with that first, and then that is going to be moving on pretty soon here, as soon as they get that person hired. So they're looking for Medicare supplement on some of the on-demand drivers that they can use. That there's a supplement that Medicare will pay for if they have someone that needs to go for a medical need, whether it be like non-emergency things like
An
that.
appointment.
Like an appointment to, might be to dialysis or anything like that. So there's or an organization out there that does that kind of billing for the transit authority, that they're looking for an additional revenue stream. Their revenue stream for, their on-demand services is pretty high, and it just doesn't quite cover all the costs that they have for that on-demand need. So this will be a supplement to that they're hoping for. The three new buses, it's a government 80-20 match that they are getting ready to pick up here, but they're limited on where the buses come from now because there's just not many facilities out there that's producing them, whether they're electric, gas, or diesel. So I think for the most part, the ones that were diesel that they had retrofitted with the DEF fluid, they were creating an issue with the engine part of it. Anybody that has a diesel truck that takes DEF fluid, they would know that the retrofit on some of those buses created a problem that caused them to soot up, I'm sorry. But anyway, they're working through that, and then with the new ones that are supposed to be on order, the 80-20 match, will have hopefully be regular gas and not diesel. So they're going to have a larger gas tank at the new facility versus the diesel tanks. I don't know if that's, I'd probably be looking to maybe have the same, but that was what their suggestion was to building that infrastructure. Let's see.
You don't have any battery powered at this point, do you?
No, they were looking at that, but I think after they were looking at that, and the battery powered, the cost is not feasible. And then I had a planning commission meeting. There was, I think, 5 public hearings that were not too controversial, that there wasn't many people speaking or come up from the public to display any concerns with. We had 5 preliminary final plat reviews, and the biggest item I think that probably was for the betterment, was for the dividing out that subdivision of where the stormwater management pond was down at the off of Grade Road. It's a subdivision down there that had a lot of water issues back when we had all that rain. It was a higher water table. Doug discussed it very good for us, and basically said that when that subdivision was built, it was recommended that no basements be put in, or if they were to have them engineered, that everything could be daylighted out, and I don't think that was taken into consideration when that subdivision was put in. So there's definitely a higher water table down there, some of the karst areas that were mitigated, and now they want to make sure that the stormwater management pond that was put in will be accommodated and reclaimed and turned back over then to the homeowners association. Because if this wasn't done as an out sale of a lot, if I'm right on this, Anthony, make sure I got the legal part right, that parcel could have been sold off and then developed, and then the subdivision would not have any regulations as far as what their stormwater management holding bond would have been.
It just wasn't really nowadays that was
Incorporated.
in, like,
Too.
happened.
And if phase 2 does happen, there would be a whole gamut of other things that they would have to do in order for that to take. I think that about covered it all, didn't it? Okay. Oh, the Pickleplex, yeah. That was an indoor facility for pickleball out by off of Novak Drive. I don't know if that was, anybody had heard about that or not?
Yeah, it's actually in behind Bowman's.
Bowman's place, yeah.
18,000 square foot facility.
Forgot about that. So that'll be interesting when it gets up and running there. So, and my third meeting I wasn't able to attend because it corresponded the same as my planning commission was the airport authority. But I'll talk to Nick and give an update on that later. So that's all I have. So we're 10:05 and right on time here for Mr. Lawrenson. You want to come on up?
Second, sir.
Oh,
We
I'm
got,
sorry.
Board and commission vacancies.
Board, I'm sorry. We got, yep, board and commission
Yes,
vacancies.
sir.
We have.
I would like to reappoint William Sines to the fire board.
Is that a motion?
Yes, sir, for, and the term expires September 4, his current term expires September 4, 2024. I'd like to reappoint him.
Have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
And any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Like sign opposed. Motion carries. He is reappointed. Thank you. Now, come on up, Will. Good to see you.
Good morning.
What have you for us this morning?
I have two estate hearings. The first this morning will begin with the matter of the estate of Regina Zapf, Z-A-P-F, who passed away testate, Berkeley County resident, on February 29th, 2020. On July 15th, 2020, more than 4 months after the decedent passed away, Sharon M. Yapello, who is here present this morning, the decedent's daughter, presented with my predecessor, Kennette Petrie, with a valid, on its face, last will and testament for the decedent, naming herself as executrix. As you know, West Virginia law dictates that an appraisement of estate assets, state tax form 6.01 and 6.02 are due no later than 90 days from the date of the personal representative's qualification, less risking waiver of fiduciary compensation, removal as personal representative, or even a misdemeanor offense. On May 9th, 2022, over 1 year and 9 months later, Ms. Yapello turned in the appraisement of estate assets. Upon receipt of same, my office set the estate's publication date for June 1st, 2022, making the claim deadline July 31st, 2022. The appraisement listed real property and multiple bonds as the sole probate assets. No interim/annual accountings have been filed by this executor. West Virginia law requires at least one annual accounting each year unless the executor can show to my office's satisfaction that the estate holds cash assets, real property, or other tangible property valued $800 or less. Then an accounting is only due once every 3 years. This estate was opened 4 years, 1 month, and 7 days ago. The executor is delinquent on either mark. On June 13th, 2024, Kathy Santa Barbara, who's also in attendance, on behalf of Maureen Zapf, also in attendance, the decedent's other daughter and residual beneficiary, filed this petition to this commission to show cause why Ms. Yapello should either A, be removed as personal representative for the estate of Regina M. Zapf, or settle the estate. I now invite Ms. Santa Barbara to speak on her petition if she so desires.
Will always does such a good job. The issues here are a lack of specificity in the appraisement as respects specific requests that were made. Anything that's been done in this estate was done because of my numerous letters to Ms. Yapello. So we finally got an interim distribution made, but my client is entitled to wedding band and diamond ring that we know Ms. Yapello has because she tested. My client said they were safe and they would be provided back in July of 2022 when we made arrangements for the other siblings to pick up their items from Ms. Yapello. But that still has not occurred. Likewise, there are bonds that were U.S. savings bonds that were cashed in. We don't know anything about those, and they need to be So what we would like to see is not, my client doesn't want to serve as an executor of this estate, a successor, but rather she just wants her sister to do her job. That's what we're.
Ms. Iapello is also in the audience if she wishes to speak to this petition. Okay. Notices of today's hearing were sent out June 24th, 2024. No response by any other interested party has been filed, written or otherwise. With that, and without objection from any interested party in the audience today, I will ask this commission's consideration for, and this is going to be complicated to word, but in essence, a 30-day stay to allow for the executrix to file her final and annual accounting for the estate, allowing all beneficiaries to see what assets remain to be distributed, as well as an actual distribution being made. So a 30-day stay to allow for the executor to file a settlement, otherwise risk removal as fiduciary of this estate.
All right, we've heard the information. Need a motion, I guess. Anthony, how would this? To take on the recommendation from the fiduciary's office.
To stay the decision on
Mr. President, I move to give them the 30 days to solve this.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Second it. Any further discussion?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Mr. President. Does she request to respond to any of those?
I'm certainly open if Ms. Iapello wishes to comment.
Is there a particular reason why this hasn't been done that you would want to share with this commission before we vote on this?
Yeah, I was going to say, if you're
Yeah.
going to speak.
Yeah, it would be better if you came up if you could.
The bonds have not been cashed in. Actually, they're not even matured yet. I did send them in. IRS. They sent them back to me while I was in a nursing home. Forgot all about it, honestly. Got back. I had sepsis. A lot of ways. The other things I have been working on. Not find the rings. They were in my safe, along with my good jewelry, and they're not there anymore. So my husband is going to help look for them. Again, we have been looking. I have a couple more spaces. I'm going to look in my shed to see if they're in there also. I want her to have. And have somebody help me do it now.
Yeah, I'm satisfied with that. I just want to be able to hear from her, give you an opportunity to speak.
Right.
Ready. Any other questions or comments?
Wish you the best in your recovery.
Thank you.
Call for the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Like sign opposed, motion carries. What else?
Next, we have the estate of Harriet Randall. Ms. Randall passed away April 28th, 2024, a Berkeley County resident. On July 8th, 2024, Jacinda Marie Randall, the decedent's daughter, provided the fiduciary supervisor's office with a copy of the purported last will and testament of her mother. As this commission knows, the rebuttable presumption in West Virginia is that if the original cannot be found, that it was destroyed, and the fact that the original cannot be found is intentional. Ms. Randall seeks to rebut that presumption with her petition here today. Notwithstanding its unoriginal status, the will seemingly meets all of the requirements of a valid last will and testament in West Virginia. With that, and without any objection from any interested party in the audience today, do we have? I ask for this commission's consideration in probating the copy of the last will and testament of Harriet M. Randall in solemn form.
Okay. You've heard the request. Is there any questions or comments?
Is anybody here related to the?
Okay, would you like to speak, please?
State your name for the
I'm her
record.
daughter, Jacinta Randall.
Okay.
I couldn't find the will. I have no idea what my mom did to it when we had the will done. All the paperwork was in a file. I have no idea. I have everything else, the original Randall Family Trust, all signed in the original power of attorney, the original living will, everything else but the last will and testament. I have no idea what happened to it. So, and this would have been a moot point if I'd had time, but my mom was not supposed to have passed. So, yeah, she was not supposed to. It was
Anything else?
no, that's all I have. If you need to see that.
Anything else, Will?
That's it.
All righty. Can I have a motion
To probate a copy of the will in solemn form.
to probate a copy of the will in solemn form?
So moved.
Have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Like sign opposed, motion carries, sir.
Thank you all, that's it.
All right.
Thank you, sir. Anything else, Will? Anything coming up?
We have some things coming up, commissioners, but I wouldn't want to ruin it for you.
Very good. All righty. Next up, Jennifer Smith, Director of Berkeley County Development Authority. Let's see, we have a grant, IRA grant for CMC.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, sir.
So I do have a resolution that I'm requesting today, and this resolution will give me the authority to apply for the grant. We did apply for the grant last year and received it. So this grant will give us the opportunity to get funds from the state to then help CMC do the industrial access road into their plant. So this will be the new
What's the
road.
amount again, Jennifer?
Excuse me?
What's the amount again?
So each year, each county gets to apply up to 400,000. So I would like to apply for the whole 400,000, and then there is a matching section. It's 300,000, so 150 from the state, and then the matching funds will come from CMC.
We don't have to read the resolution, do we? Or just adopt it? Okay. I have a motion to adopt the resolution as presented here for the participation with the Industrial Access Road Grant Program.
So moved.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Like sign opposed, motion carries. And
Thank you.
next one, Tiff, to support Project Glass.
Yes, so Project Glass, I do have several representatives from Black Diamond, as well as Warshco and A to Z Realty. Project Glass is a project that I've been working on in the Inwood area. It's the 54 acres on Pilgrim Street. And you should have a resolution. This particular piece of property is in the TIF district, in the South TIF. And there is a request for some funding for this project for infrastructure. I would like to give an opportunity for Joe Anthony to come up and talk further about his project.
Come on up.
No, we don't have any.
Anthony Delegati received a resolution and said that
It's not in the read. Don't have it.
okay.
You can still move forward and they can look at it.
Come on up.
As you may recall, my name is Joe Anthony. Let me pass these out real quick. First off, let me introduce everyone who's here. I think you may know them from last meeting, but David and Aaron from Black Diamond. Aaron's my boots on the ground and has done a tremendous job. He lives in Berkeley County and very successful in helping us generate tenants. Understand better the community that we're developing. David, of course, is the owner and has offices and develops throughout the wonderful state of West Virginia and has for years. My newest rising star in my company, Joey Anthony, back from the 82nd Airborne a couple months ago, and please be easy on me. I don't want to embarrass myself in front of my son. I think this is the first time he's seen me in action. So Sasan is in the process of building 300 apartments in Hagerstown and had a big construction meeting with his bank and couldn't unfortunately with HUD lender, you can't rearrange schedules. so they moved the meeting. He's certainly looks forward to the results. I put together, and I'll be remiss if I don't first thank Jennifer. Without Jennifer, I'm not standing here today in front of you. I've done this now for 30 years. I've never seen a more responsive person. She's helped us with every issues. We can't get a phone call back from the assessor's office. We can't get this done or that done. She's been amazing. So whatever you're paying her, pay her more. That would be my advice to you. So, and keep her as long as you
He's
can.
on the board for us. So direct all the comments to
Thank
him.
you, Jennifer. We haven't named the shopping center yet. We'll probably have we usually like to get the community involved in the naming, and again, usually the best names of any shopping centers are what the community pick, not a developer that doesn't live and breathe in the town. So if it was my choice right now, I'd call it Jennifer Shopping Center.
My name's usually on a shopping cart corral for all the damages that I do to my own vehicle.
Really excited about this project. I'm not going to go through the whole package. Most of it is about the town you guys live in. I don't need to kind of go through everything, but did want to touch on some of the high points. We're planning a roughly 400,000 square foot both grocery and home banquet shopping center. But for what you guys did to set up the entire town with the infrastructure and all the improvements you've made, this shopping center never sees the light in front of us. And roundabouts, and again, you guys really laid out the red carpet for projects like this. Can't still tell you who the tenants are, but that will be coming shortly, and I think everybody has an idea, but very excited to bring in new users that aren't in the county, Probably the first page I'll just flip you to, and we're going to talk a little bit. Jennifer asked me to provide some economic impact analysis and some social impact analysis, and I did that, and I think that's what I want to focus on real quick, because I think you guys, everybody knows the ins and outs of the project. I will certainly answer any and all questions as to kind of what we envision. But the first map is an interesting one. It's the first colored map, that shows the demographics, basically, household. As you can see, everyone, red is the richest, blue is second richest, and green is a little bit less, right? So shopping centers like this, and we'll get into it when we talk about the economic impact study, it just doesn't raise taxes and revenue on the shopping center. It actually makes it a more friendly area to live. People want to be next to medical uses. We'll have a 30,000 square foot medical office component. Nobody wants to drive a half an hour to their doctor's offices where they get treatment. That, along with what happens when you build 1 and 2, happens is you become a retail corridor, a super regional retail corridor, right? And unfortunately for Inwood, there's one in Hagerstown, there's one in Martinsburg, right? So now it's our job to kind of get you to the point where you're that super regional draw. The biggest issue we have in towns like this is it's called retail sales outflow, right? So all of your dollars in Inwood are being spent in Hagerstown, another state completely. You know, you're not getting the benefit of it, or Martinsburg or other areas other than Inwood. So the goal with our developments is to kind of be the town within the town, right? Something for everybody. We'll have everything from food to groceries to services, medical. Aaron and David helped me line up 120 room extended service hotels. So we plan on having a hotel. With that hotel, liquor dispensing restaurants want to be up against it real close so that you can certainly eat and drink while you're staying overnight. That's critical to us. The patrons spend more money in the town on average, vacations and trips. The goal really is to kind of keep the money where it is and then add to it more housing, more shopping centers, more development, etc. So again, that's the goal. Hopefully we can turn this blue in the next 10 years and then eventually red. You know, that's always the goal. The goals with big commercial development, obviously. So let's flip over, and unless if you want to talk details about the site plan or anything else, I want to go over to the economic impact study. I've done so many of these. You know, it's always amazing how many jobs these facilities create. So first step always is construction jobs, right? So there should be 600 or more construction jobs created. Those are, you know, depending upon the length of the project, they could last 2, 3, 4 years, especially as you kind of build out all the different categories. So 600 high.
Do you use local construction or do you bring in construction?
So we always start local. With me, my site work folks, I like to use especially site work folks who know the terrain, right? If you're 3 hours away and you're the best site work person in the world in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, you don't know the mountains and the rocks in West Virginia. So yes, we will first look to use local. And even if we have a GC that we take from another jurisdiction, it's not cost effective to bring subs from outside in these type of shopping centers usually. So all of the subs, all of the site work folks, we will certainly look first to the individuals who live within the region and the county, yes. Especially, again, each town's a little different. So again, the closer the contractor, you know, certainly, you know, that will be our goal. And we bid it out, you know, the bid process, not quite a government bid process, but we usually bid to anywhere between 5 and 10 general contractors. And we will have definitely locals. And if you have some in mind, you know, I love to work with people who have been recommended to me from people who have done projects like this before. So if you have some locals in mind, certainly we put them on our bid list. Probably even a little head start since they have been successful. So, you know, and everyone always talks about the indirect and economic multiple. When you're working here and you're living here for 3 years, well, you spend money eating at restaurants, you stay in hotels. So again, it raises up kind of everybody to that level. Also, you know, sometimes you have to train people to do this, you know, to do it properly, and certainly, you know, a lot of people end up staying if they like the community. So again, it's more than just the jobs, you know, more than just the job. Certainly, hope and the goal always is that will spur on additional commercial construction. Let's talk a little bit about just the direct job creation. And again, I kind of broke it out on the next page. The supermarket will have anywhere between 150 and 200 jobs. Home improvement, probably closer to 250 jobs. The medical office, again, their first phase is going to be around 30,000 square feet, although they'll probably get larger is what they're telling us at this point. So that will have at least 100 employees, could be upwards of 200 when it's finally said and done. Same thing with the restaurants. We'll have a handful of restaurants, both quick service and sit-down restaurants. We should have another 200 plus employees, and then certainly the hotel, probably 150 to 200 is the estimate on the hotel. And then lastly, of course, the additional, what I call the satellite buildings, service users, the cell phone users, and the likes. So another couple hundred employees there. So the direct impact is huge on job creation, 1,000 jobs, many of which are high-paying jobs. Long past that retailers don't pay. The managers of these properties, managers of the stores themselves, they make six-figure salaries and they work really hard to get it. But again, it's certainly, significant high-paying jobs, especially the way the bigger retailers are splitting up. They have so many different departments now. They have a manager of each department, and those folks make a very good competitive. So the job creation alone is 1,000 taxes and employment taxes, and then certainly if you work here and you come here every day, you might need a home too. So that's the ultimate goal, right? The little parcel behind us, I would love to see developed as residential, and certainly a lot of other areas. Partner a lot with Dan Ryan Builders. They're in the region. They're the reason we're here. They're the ones who tipped us off to the town, and again, this certainly, I think you have an opportunity to robust expansion. Country, if you have to put a house in, build ones. Prices are still much lower than most of the rest of the country. So that will help progress that. Retail brings people and brings new housing. So obviously we talk a little bit about increased tax revenue, but I think we all know what long term for the tax base, both on real estate side, and then as importantly, or maybe more importantly, on the sales tax side, significant sales tax and tax revenue. Certainly, everybody appreciates when there's great retail around you. Housing prices go up and rises the whole market. The other cool thing is, sometimes always I look to do about 15 to 20% local my shops. Why? Because I want it to have a feel of the locality, right? That brings the people, entrepreneurs in who kind of draw the locals in, and then they shop the national tenants. But again, so this will give an opportunity also for local entrepreneurs to be in an unbelievable location that, we should have, and again, we're finishing kind of the sales projections for the retailers themselves, but we should have a couple million visitors a year at this location. Should be where it lands, give or take. Again, a lot of that will be new, certainly off Route 81 corridor. That's why I think we have the opportunity, a lot of inflow of retail, inflow of sales, because you're on the 81 corridor. It's gonna see it, and you're gonna pass it, and hopefully you're gonna stop when you see that it's retailers that you don't have in your backyard. The other thing I wanted to touch on, and then again, obviously we all know what happens when let's just say we do 200 million. Tax rate 6%. What's the sales tax rate? 6%. So 18, $12 million a year to build parks and more infrastructure, and to use at the discretion, obviously, of the state and the taxing authorities, but significant dollars to reinvest in the community. That also helps enhance. It's interesting because the direct direct benefits fail in comparison to what the indirect benefits are. Every time a truck pulls up and delivers merchandise, there's somebody getting paid a nice salary, hopefully, to deliver that. When I go to, I'll keep 5 bankers busy, why we finance this and why we do the project. So, you have banks involved and vendors involved. And oh, by the way, now you're going to have, a large complex. So you might have some warehouse spaces needed, closer to the proximity of it, et cetera. So we often see these indirect economic benefits far surpass the direct. Obviously, keeping dollars home, that's so critical. Study after study done on retail sales outflow and everybody spending again, it's disappointing, when a lot of your constituents are money in either another county or in this case another state. So that will certainly help. Again, and the other big indirect benefit is, again, we want the same retail corridor, here as in Hagerstown and in Martinsburg, and this is what other retailers look for. Again, they want the dominant retail corridor, so you can buy everything within a half a mile. That's a goal of most municipalities. I think certainly will help jumpstart that and other development. The infrastructure development, you've already done a lot of that, but we're going to spend a lot of money on Pilgrim and a lot of money on the other stuff to, I think, finish where you guys left off. So certainly that's significant. Oh yeah, the property behind us will be more valuable, I think, at the end of the day, because we would have run all the utilities up almost to that site. So certainly that makes that more attractive. I think on all levels, that property behind us becomes more valuable when we announce this our construction. So that's certainly a huge indirect benefit, not for us, but the landowners in the town, and certainly helps tremendously. Again, and community engagement is important. I talked about a little bit opening. I want this to be their shop. It's not my shopping center; it's the community shopping center. So this is really important to us. We do everything from little gazebo amphitheater areas. Sometimes we'll have food truck nights and some music and things like that. So we want this to be the communities. That certainly is a huge benefit. It gives people an opportunity to hang around, by the hotel and by the restaurant area. We'll probably have a little, I call them soft play areas, whether it's a fountain for the kids or an area to sit down and relax after a long day of shopping or just a long day in general. So we usually have at least 1 or 2 elements. Again, more of a community setting, so people can spend. Our goal is to have them spend as much time as we can at our shopping center. That helps. Diversity of services, again, this is critical. And not only adding new services, but I'm in a little town, a tiny town, a couple thousand people outside of West. I'm not going to name the grocery store, but we have one grocery store. And it's a little bit below convenience store price. So everybody drives 15 miles away. And the same grocery chain and 3 others. The pricing there is significantly lower. Bringing in more retailers of this magnitude and this type helps pricing across the board, because then people have to compete. When you're the only game in town, you can certainly charge a little bit more. Every retailer in the world knows that, especially the staple retailers. Pricing is different in every supermarket you go in. If it's 2 miles away, you can get a bag of potatoes for $5 one place and $3 the next place. It makes no sense, but that's the way the world works. And as we bring in more retail, it helps stabilize pricing, helps lower pricing. There'll be competition, and that's critical, a critical indirect benefit. Of course, it enhanced quality of life for everybody. Talk a little bit now. Any questions on kind of just the indirect and direct economic benefits? If not, I'll kind of jump. Social benefits. Cool. All right.
I had one.
Yeah.
So the whole 54 acres will be commercial, obviously.
Yes.
And most of it's going to be accessed off Pilgrim Road, or you'll have access out to the main road from those other sites as well.
Yeah, 3 access
There'll
points.
be 3 there.
Yeah, there'll be
One's
3
right there
access
next
points.
to the interstate, yeah.
You know, I probably have 4 different traffic engineers tell me that my main will be Pilgrim. The next guy will say the main will be off I-81. I think the main is going to be off I-81. That's just my gut. That's what the retailers are telling me. Again, you know, that's what makes this site so valuable, right? You have 60-some thousand cars a day, right? But yeah, we'll have, you know, the entrance, you know, well, 3 entrances basically. And Pilgrim, we're going to expand, so to make sure that we can bring in, you know, the traffic doesn't get congested. So we are making improvements. Yeah, so we'll have the 3 access points, which is critical in a project like that. Honestly, the Dunkin' Donuts kind of makes it a little difficult in that access point to kind of make it a little larger, but 3 is certainly ample for a project of this size. And I do think we'll get customers from both directions. With major enhancements done on Pilgrim, and certainly, we may, you know, if we need, or, you know, we could always add another access point. Somebody I know near and dear to my heart owns the little food line, the bacon food line in front. We own it too. So that was our first purchase. So, matter of fact, we're showing this space to a great user now that hopefully I'll be back to announce. I'll give Jennifer the heads up when they sign the lease. It should be soon, which again, I think a great enhancement to the community. It has to do with education. That's all I can say for now. But hopefully within a week or 2, we'll be able to say more on that. But so yeah. So any other questions on the? Great. Let's go to the social impacts, because this is certainly as important as anything when we're talking about communities, right? Again, you know, the biggest, you know, one of the biggest things is just, you know, your gathering space. I talked about it a little bit on the economic impacts, but again, you know, this is where people hang out, they eat lunch together, they shop together, they go grocery shopping. So certainly, these are a sense of places like Inwood and other towns across the country. Certainly every shopping center, even if you have the same tenant lineup, is different no matter where it is. Again, especially when you add your local, everyone in our business calls them mom and pop retail. You could be 100 years in business, 20 locations, make more money than any publicly traded company, you're still called a mom and pop. But the local retailers, I think, help make that community gathering place that we're looking for. And again, I talked again a little bit about this, but you know, the more goods and services you have for a community, you know, keeps you spending your money here, and certainly stabilizes prices. And we all know grocery stores, you know, I read an article the other day that my parents, making $60,000 a year, to live the same lifestyle today, I would need to make $220,000, right? So again, this will help dramatically, I think, stabilize some of the folks who, for lack of a better word, are the only game in town. Again, recreational, again, we talked a little bit about that, but we will have some areas to just kind of hang out. And I like to do a little meditation area, a little quiet area, a little grassy area, and things like that. Sometimes we'll put the little walking trails sets up, hopefully walking trail, something good. You know, if you just want to go hang out someplace, walk the dog, whatever. Health and wellness, again, we're going to do a major medical component, at least 30,000 square feet. It's a household name in this region. That's all I'm at liberty to say now. But again, that's one of the biggest barriers to you know, attracting people to a community is medical, high-end medical and newer medical facilities. Certainly, that obviously it diversifies the economy with 1,000 new workers. Certainly, they're going to just be We are doing electric charging, sometimes solar panels and things like that. So we will, probably team up with one of our retailers to do some of that, and certainly, develop this. I have a Tesla too. Chargers side of the road, so that's always a good thing. Again, and this is kind of lost in the shuffle with kind of the job marketing being so tight. But I remember when I was a kid, you're a teenager, it's hard to get a job, but you can always go to the mall, you can go to a big shopping center, and either the Gap will hire you or one of the retailers will hire you and give you a shot. So certainly it helps. Plus, it's a nice, safe, neat, clean place to eat or to work. Usually they're large companies, so they treat you a little better than maybe some others wouldn't. So again, that's certainly help. You guys have one of the safest communities I've ever developed. Lit security hours will do that. So I've developed in California and Chicago, and so security usually is one of the top 3 issues I'm asked for development. But again, a very we'll have it well secured. Again, we talked about market price stability, so I'm not going to talk. And retail sales outflow. To me, that's the most important thing. It's so frustrating to see everybody in the community spending money elsewhere and out of the States. So again, this will help significantly capture that, and you'd be amazed how much your county's dollars are going elsewhere. They have to go to the one retailer that they have to go to. Again, my wife passes 2 TJ Maxx's on her way to the TJ Maxx she goes to because she thinks that's the best one, right? So again, that's in a completely different county. And certainly I know some of my money goes to the county. So.
My wife is making a list now for Costco, which is in Winchester.
Good luck. You might want to call your banker to get a loan before she gets in there.
Yeah.
So that's what I have. Again, I'd be glad to answer any questions. Again, I thank you for the opportunity. Really looking forward to this project. We're excited to tip it off and make some announcements. And this has been a great process, and I really.
Thanks for coming in and the update, and we'll be looking forward to the announcement. And if you need to do anything, let us know also, and we'll be around.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Jennifer.
So you have the resolution. John Stump from Steptoe & Johnson and Jennifer worked on it. Anthony's reviewed it. What their ask is, you're not committing anything now, but not to exceed 10 million of TIF funds. The project as a whole is in the TIF is 90 million, all for infrastructure. It clearly says county commission shall not obligate or expend any of the funds to incur any cost in connection with the activities of this resolution without further action of the body.
That's this resolution.
That is a resolution there.
And I do just want to mention that the developer will be purchasing the bonds, and that is not on the county commission. So
Right.
You would have no obligation if things did not work out.
Funding wasn't there.
And that doesn't show up on our,
No.
We're not selling them, they are.
No. And I will say we will, they do have a meeting with the county assessor's office today at 1, so they'll be working closely with Larry Hess. And MuniCap is working with them as well. MuniCap was waiting on the assessor's information in order, they are working on projections, but we're not willing to share that without meeting with the assessor first.
Want to add one quick thing on that? Go in there with anything. It is I found. Okay, so finally, after 6 times, $500,000 on the bottom side, 20 million on the top. I said, okay, that's all I needed to hear. Jennifer said, can you put it in writing? He said, I could, but I have to do like 10 pages of disclosures when I think. So We are very confident. I asked for 20, so. Basically, don't buy the bond. Such a small. I like the bank because the bond market expenses, extra time, your providers, you done. Everything is all in the I look around, close to the bank. Very confident. Have support.
I need a motion to adopt the resolution, right? So we're looking at for the recognizing the intent and support and cooperate with the Washco Management Corporation. Does that sound right? Okay. So I have a motion.
I'll make that a motion to adopt the resolution.
Okay. I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion?
Yes, sir. Just real quick, we are hopefully looking at an opportunity for a sales tax tip, correct?
That's correct.
And one of the beauties of the reason that the TIF was designed originally was to help with infrastructure, and that's exactly what these funds will be able to do. Originally, our ask was for water, sewer, road, and now it's been included for stormwater. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And I would add that being able to help with the stormwater is critically important to the remaining portions of Inwood, who has suffered flooding for numerous amounts of years, and more recently, the last 2 weeks. I'm hoping that with this development and the construction of that infrastructure, that water can be stopped first, collected, and then dispersed as it comes on down the line. And I truly hope and believe that it will be better for the greater part of Inwood and its flooding issues.
That is the plan. It would fix more than just that particular parcel for stormwater.
Any other discussion? Comments, questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Like sign opposed, motion carries.
Thank you, sir.
All right.
Thank you, everyone.
Could we get a copy of that?
Yeah, we'll get you. We'll get Penny. Can you make us a couple copies or whenever it's all done?
Yeah.
All righty. I need to, county clerk signs this one. Where'd the clerk go? Yep, okay.
I'll
Jennifer?
give it to you. Penny, it's here.
Oh, it's here.
I'll give
Okay.
it to you.
All righty. We're going to take a quick break here for a little bit, and we'll thank you all for coming in. See you soon. All right, we're going to take a break.
Okay, we're back in session, and next up, we have Troy Baird, who's a candidate for the Development Authority and/or the Planning Commission. Morning up, Troy. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, how is everyone?
Good. First off, appreciate you applying for boards, because we're always looking for good folks to serve on our boards. And if you would, just tell us a little bit about you.
Sure.
And then we're just going to come on down the line, ask a few questions, and go from there.
Grew up in the south end of the county, went to Musselman. 3 kids now in the school system. Moved away for a little bit, that's where the accent comes from. 12 years down in the Knoxville area. Was a member of the 167th also for 6 years. Proud of that. And from the time, from high school to now, interested in, the growth of the area and, where we're going. So whether my work has taken me to East Tennessee to see other areas, the growth there, kind of come back and help in this area however I can. In sales now, work for the Pete store in Hagerstown. Truck salesman, run Lansing Building Products. Actually know you helped me with a meal up there about 5 years ago. So Lansing exterior products, residential side. So sold to a lot of the home builders in the county over the years. See the growth. Rita.
All right. Mr. Boyd.
Yeah, you just applying for both? Is there one in particular you're more interested in?
Development.
Development. You have any experience on any of these boards before, or
Do not,
familiar
no,
with them? Okay. What would you hope to achieve if appointed to this board?
Achievements really, kind of taking my experience, helping the county. Serving is, the biggest thing that I want.
By the Planning Commission.
Again, it's kind of goes hand in hand with development side. So whether it's for planning, development,
Well,
kind of in
planning,
that same realm.
planning is more than just development is, application to the developments, building, not so much building codes, but development codes, stormwater planning, and that's a residential and commercial.
Right.
Of course, you got a taste of the Development Authority here this morning because you sat through the presentation of those guys and,
Right. Sorry.
and their grandiose plans and all that sort of stuff. So that kind of got you into it, I guess.
Yeah, I was actually went to James Rumsey. I was a draftsman for 15 years on the storm sewer side. So that's why I moved to East Tennessee. I was a draftsman there for Sherman-Dixie sales for that. So subdivision side, kind of seeing that area down there.
Well, what's your feeling about zoning?
To be honest with you, I used to hear my dad in the late 70s, early 80s just was 100% against zoning. I have always been for zoning in some realm, especially growing up on the south end of the county. Seeing whether it was, and I don't want to get into things in the past, but just certain establishments beside the schools and that kind of stuff. I think zoning established in the 60s and 70s would have helped that. That's in the past, and it doesn't really help anything now. But to answer your question, I'm for some type of zoning. Yes, sir.
Our problem in the past, since you brought it up,
No.
Zoning has been proposed twice for this county and brought
I
down
believe that, yes.
both times. mostly because the powers that were came up with these zoning ordinances that were written from out-of-state perspectives.
Right.
And they were just boilerplate. They were not suited for us, and yes, they should have voted them down because they were just boilerplate, and they,
Okay.
didn't fit. And if you go to Jefferson County and look at their zoning ordinance, they're always fighting over something.
Yes.
Whether it's be solar farms or the the municipal jurisdictions fighting the county zoning, and it's sort of bizarre. But then again, Jefferson County politics is bizarre,
Right.
and so they have a bad experience with that, as well as the boilerplate ordinances that came up in Berkeley County.
Mhm.
So, and I think if zoning was proposed for the third time, it would probably pass. But again, it's what kind of zoning ordinance are you
Absolutely.
talking about?
Yes. Mhm. I agree 100%.
Okay, that's it.
Barnhart? Kelly?
Just your perspective on residential growth now in Berkeley County and commercial growth. Think we're growing too fast residentially?
Working on that side for a while, and I know it's, the problem is land. Problem is lots. When you work with the local builders on that side of it, they have the workforce to do it, but they can't find lots, and that kind of falls into the Ryan Homes and those kind of guys. They can get lots, and they, 2 years ago when we seen the slowdown was coming, and when you went over to Frederick, to meet with the Ryan Homes and those kind of guys, they had to hammer down the whole time. The local builders were scared, which they should be. Labor, et cetera. Funds behind them. The national guys they weren't scared, so they had to hammer down the whole time. So, kind of answer your question, I seen the residential building. I would like to slow them down a little bit so the local guy can make his money. That's sort of where I'm at. It's not really the growth, but when you go down Fish Hatchery Road and look over, yeah, that's fine. 100 homes, 200 homes, that's great. But I'd like to see a local guy in there build. That's just kind of where I'm at.
That's tough to regulate.
It is. And to answer your question, you probably can't regulate it.
No.
So,
And we do kind of have a zoning in effect now. If you got water and sewer, Katie bar the door. If
Right.
you don't have water and sewer, you're kind of protected because, they don't want to put in 2-acre lots
Right.
because there's not the money.
yeah, you can make more.
Yeah. So we kind of have zoning in place, but not.
Yeah, land is the issue. It's land.
About the roads?
Infrastructure, and again, it kind of goes back to, when I was in East Tennessee, and I bring this up all the time, but you see this, Route 11 run through Athens, Tennessee. It was 4 lanes. Well, that just wasn't something that they thought of in the 90s. That happened in the 50s when they made the road. Route 11 from the Virginia line into Martinsburg, it was 1 lane. So if you come through there now, you would have to take out how many homes, how many farms. So the infrastructure is not any one fault from now. It happened with the growth in the 40s, 50s, 60s because you didn't think this place would ever grow like that.
Well, remember, Route 11's 60-foot right away.
Loudoun County, and I graduated in 1990, and what wasn't that far, when we would go down there for sports, there was 3 high schools in Loudoun County. Now there's 28. So you don't foresee the growth that it is. How can you handle it? You ever, really? I mean, you can grow as fast as you want to. You really can in this area. That's the great thing. When I left East Tennessee in 2010, the unemployment rate was almost 11%. That's the reason I came back. It was a great 12 years down there, for myself and my family. This is a great place to raise a family. It's a great place to always work. That's the reason I came back, because you sandwiched with, Loudoun County, Winchester, the economy. Winchester, Virginia is the fastest growing small town in Virginia. Not me saying that, it's the Wall Street Journal the last 2 years. Martinsburg's the fastest growing town in West Virginia. Great place to live. I just want to be a part of something.
Appreciate the fact that you're willing to serve, and we thank you for that.
Mm-hmm.
Are you Ralph's son?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I've known Ralph a long time. In Brother Phil.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So when I was looking over your application there, you've done a lot of things.
Mhm.
But is there one particular skill set that you can bring either to the Development Authority or the Planning Commission that you're like, I'm really good with this? Because you've done lots of stuff.
What I have kind of went into my experience in the residential field as a draftsman and project management has kind of moved me to sales. If you would have asked me 15 years ago, I thought I would be in sales, probably not. But sales has helped me kind of fulfill career-wise. Skill set, just really my, the full entourage of experience that I had.
Well, and I always, personally, I appreciate folks that have grown up here, that want to come back here and give here.
Right.
So I appreciate that, and I appreciate you coming in.
Yeah, thank you.
Currently, I don't think we have vacancies on either one of those particular boards.
Okay.
But they do rotate, so, and things change with people. So we're happy to keep you in mind and your application on file.
Yep, absolutely.
Yep. All right. Well,
Thanks for your time.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next up is Chad Weinbrenner, Deputy County Administrator, Clinical Supervisor Classification.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon. I have Tim Sy here with me as well. The first classification we're talking about is for the clinical manager at the Day Report Center. Tim had brought to our attention some time back, Aaron Mills as his clinical supervisor. Their operation continues to grow. They continue to bring on more staff to a point where Erin has found herself supervising 10 therapists now, and there have been a lot of changes over the years with how they have become a licensed treatment center. They now bill insurances and Medicaid, and there was some concern about where she was in her job. So we went through and looked, and clinical supervisor is not a title that is currently exists on the compensation and classification scale county, so it was important that we put it there. And then in looking at clinical supervisor to make sure that it was paid correctly in equity with her responsibilities and requirements. So the job description is attached to this request. Tim and I both worked on it. It is very well written. It is incredibly in depth. And the request is to accept the request is to add the clinical supervisor job description to your compensation and classification scale, and to adjust Aaron Mills' salary to $96,000 effective 18.
I assume that this classification, you researched the various classifications,
Yes,
you're not reinventing the wheel.
No,
so to
sir,
speak.
we are not. No, sir. And that is within Tim's organization and within the salary structure. That is a salary number that is perfectly in line with where she should be in comparison with the people that she supervises, as well as the duties that she performs within other similar organizations.
How long has she been with us?
Started
Oh, yeah.
employed by Dr. Martins
What's her title now? Oh, informally, okay.
Gary, on the budget side of things, we're good.
On the budget, you absolutely are. It should also be noted that this is an extension of many of your previous approvals to let Tim do what Tim does and support the community. They generate plenty of revenue that will cover this change.
Any other questions for Chad or Tim or Gary? Yes, sir.
So you're not adding a new employee,
No,
no,
sir.
you're just promoting one to this position, correct, in a sense?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So in order for us to bill Medicaid, we have to have a clinical supervisor on staff who has the right type of license, either a licensed professional counselor or a licensed independent clinical social worker. That degree or that license requires several years of post-master's degree work in order to achieve. It's a pretty significant accomplishment. She could hang a shingle outside her house and bill Highmark Blue Shield for doing individual therapy and make a lot of money. The people that start these private practices around here are people that have that type of license. I have to have someone with that type of license on staff in order for us to bill Medicaid. The weight of all of our insurance billing is on her and on her license. She's got a lot of responsibility involved in her role. So this is entirely appropriate in my.
Very good. Thank you. Okay.
Okay, Aaron, I'd like to move that we create this clinical manager classification effective immediately.
At a grade level 16. Have a motion on the floor. Have a second.
Second.
Any further questions? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you.
We have one additional.
Next, sir, we have the grant administrator for classification.
Yes, sir. So if you all will recall, back in January, we did a reorganization of our grants departments. That time you had two grants administrators that worked out of the commission office that were assigned and they sort of overlapped on a huge portion of their work went directly to day report and community corrections. We identified a need at that time to separate those work processes and dedicate a grant administrator to community corrections, and that move has proven to be very successful. Through that work and through that realignment, a lot of work was reassigned to the grants administrator, Elizabeth Lapchak, who remained assigned at the commission office. Previously, you had currently you have two grants administrator roles. You have a grade 8, which is level 1, and a grade 10, which is level 2. Those were formerly used to align seniority and responsibilities. Now that you do not have multiple grants administrators, that is no longer needed, and also the responsibilities have grown significantly. So the request before you today is that we eliminate what is the grants administrator 1, the grade 8 role, make grants administrator a individual title at grade 10, and to raise Elizabeth Lapchak's salary to $66,413, which would bring her directly in line with the salary of the other grants administrator.
And at this point in time, we feel that that's enough. We're not looking to hire anyone else to complement her.
We are not. Elizabeth has been handling her role here fantastically. She's just this week gotten a significant amount of awards back. She's not missing any deadlines.
Tracy's thing's going well.
Tracy is thriving. Tim,
He left. Tim's not here.
Tim's not here. Tracy is she's thriving at community corrections. It has worked out fantastic. I mean, obviously, community corrections, so much of their efforts are funded by grant money. And have a dedicated person over there making sure revenue stream.
Yeah. So Tim Zaya was your third grants administrator because he was doing, if you'll recall, he was doing as much grant work as these two were. So moving one grants administrator in that effort, Tim offloaded all of that. So you saw what might have been happening here is two, but you truly had three people involved at one point. So this is a great step, and this tidies up the efforts, and this again puts both people that are doing the same amount of work at the same salary scale and eliminating that one that truly was, as Chad said earlier, was relative to experience.
Okay, any further questions? All right, I need a motion
I'd like to make
for the
that motion.
grant administration classification.
I would like to make that motion.
It's been properly moved.
Second.
And second. Any further questions? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Ayes have it, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Wine.
I've got an easy one. So as we move forward with things happening in Inwood, from commercial properties and big developments, I was asked by CEC, they sent me four options for signage. And I immediately said, hold on, let me give it to my bosses, because they all think heavily of this park. So there are some budget numbers. This is all concept, so you aren't committing to anything. They're just getting the final plans ready to hit the street for the bids. So your thoughts, questions, concerns, what you like HD, I agree with you. Somebody fell and hit their head on option number 4 at $500,000. But Eddie brought up a point, and I'll let him elaborate. The way the signs are laid out, and again, this is just concept, is you would see it as you turn left or to your right going south and to your left going north, maybe turning it so you can see it coming out of the way, make it double-sided. What's the pleasure of the commission? What kind of direction you want me to give to CEC?
The only concern I have is make them as vandal-proof as you can.
Right.
Well, it just worries me that you put up a nice sign and then some kid comes along and spray paints it. And
Mr.
then,
Parks and Recreation, how's that worked over the decades?
It truthfully has not been an issue.
yeah, but
We spent thousands of dollars on signage through the whole park system, and it's never been an issue.
I know, but once it is, then it's like, golly, we should have done this.
I do have a question here, though.
Sure.
Between the first one and the second one,
Well,
I know there's 4, but between the first one and the second one, they're identical, except the second one has apples on top, right?
That's right.
That's right.
But the second one costs less.
$2,000 a piece, or $4,000 for the two apples.
These
Is it
again,
mispriced?
this is not purchased. These are budget numbers by the architect.
I understand, but number 1 says 48, number 2 says 42.
Yeah, I get it.
So it's cheaper to have the apples, or are those accidentally reversed?
No. I didn't see that.
The apples.
That's right there.
Yeah, the apples are on the 42.
The prices is 38. The one without the apples is 38. and the
Oh,
apples
because
is
on mine it says 48.
I must have typed them. That's a typo by me, HD.
Yeah, mine's 48.
Yeah,
Mine's 38.
that's a typo. That's a typo.
Okay.
It's
I didn't notice that before, but I just.
Steve is correct. That's my typo. It's 3842.
Oh, okay.
That's my mistake.
Apples
was
are
like, man.
$2,000 a piece.
I was like, it went down to get apples.
Yeah, no, that's my mistake. I'm
Okay.
sorry. So, again, these aren't committed numbers. These are just what they would expect the cost to be. But more importantly, what's your pleasure on, what do you want it to look like? What vibe do you like? And do you like the apples? What do you?
well, I think the apples are a little bit too much, but I like number 1.
I do too. I like one.
I did too.
The key is have it far enough off the road so you can see it in both directions.
Yeah.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
Not right on the road. And, so
And I would assume at that part, they probably are going to follow suit like they did most recently with.
it can only be one side is all you need, because you don't need it coming out.
But if you turn it where you see it going northwest on 11, that's what Eddie's point was. Do you want it turned so you can see it going north and south on 11, or do you want it turned as they
If it's
present?
far back, if it's far enough back, I think one side is enough.
Is this the only entrance in the Inwood Court?
It is right now.
Currently.
Well,
It is right now.
because, I want to make sure that it's wide enough for if a truck has to pull in there, it's not running up on the curb.
It's
and hitting
taken
the thing.
care of.
That's,
It's in there.
and we will, with the other land now, have an option to do another
Yeah.
egress and degress in the future.
I would say deliveries may come in another way. It would be,
Now, they got that plenty of space there
Yeah.
to do that.
And really,
And
this
the
concept,
boulevard thing is really a classy look
Yeah.
for a park entrance
Yeah.
and all, with the
Yeah.
trees and shrubbery and flowering in the middle there is a great way to present them.
And I would imagine this may end up with automatic bars that come down to shut the park entrance.
Oh, really?
We just most recently did it at Poorhouse.
Yeah.
Because they couldn't deal with the folks in there afterwards. So I would assume that will ultimately happen, because you're right there on Route 11. you're going to want to keep folks out of there after dark. So everybody likes option A?
Yeah. Well, simpler, the better.
And for budgeting purposes, but at the same time, I would really like to see an opportunity be given to the creative arts department at Rumsey. Given the history of the Inwood Park, and let them design something with staying within that budget number.
Using local materials.
Yes, where it says welcome to Inwood Park, offer that to them to see what they could come up with.
Yeah,
Not
something
sign
a little
design.
different.
but
Yeah, and the
what
stone
design.
be local stone and, you know, or brick, whatever it comes out to, I don't know.
And I did have a request.
You can overdo it, though. You know what I'm saying?
I did have a
Ultimately, I
You
like
have so
number
much
three,
stuff on
y'all
there that
like
you don't
one,
even
so-
notice it. And the point is, it's Inwood Park, and that's the welcome sign to Inwood Park.
Option A it is. This will ultimately come back to you. I mean, this,
I like it.
Oh, yeah.
I like the
yeah.
one.
But they wanted some direction as they work on the final plan. So as we get done testing with bugs and bats and things like that, this will all get started sooner than later. Later than sooner, I mean.
Later than sooner. Okay.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Very good. All right, that's going to take us to the end of our agenda. Is there a need for executive session?
Items from the public, maybe?
There is not. Very good. Any items from the public? No?
I thought Steve's sister came tell him what a great
That's what
job he's doing.
I thought she came to see us today.
You get my text? Yeah. It's good.
All right, Mr. Barnhart.
Well, thank you, Mr. President. Yeah, it's been a good meeting, and I would like to recess.
We are in recess. Thank you very much.
Hey, always good to recess.